to our lesson today. So before your lesson, I want you to read the sentences and tell me what kinds of conditional sentences they are. So number 1, if I had money, I would buy a car. So it is type 2. Number 2, she will get good marks if she study hard. Type 1. Number 3, I would have met her if I had gone to school yesterday. It is type 3. And number 4, if you throw a stone into water, it sinks. Is it type 0? Yeah, so now class today we will continue with Unit 5 and we will focus on Part E, language focus. Well, so first of all, I would like you to listen to the word.
Part E, language focus, page 58. Pronunciation. Listen and repeat.
Economics, psychology, philosophy, engineering, sociology, mathematics, geographical, archaeology.
Well, and they are more than 3 syllables words. They are 4 syllables words. So, how do we stress on 4 syllables word? So this is the rules for you. Yeah, you can read the rules. Với những hậu tố sau thì trọng âm sẽ rơi vào chính âm tiết dưới nó. Okay, so we have E, ear, S, N. For example, we have agree, volunteer, Vietnamese, recants, mountains, unique, picturesque, engineer. We have exception, committee, coffee, employee. Các hậu tố is equals dần, and, either, as, ens, is, ears, ac, en, et thì trọng âm rơi vào âm tiết liền trước. For example, we have economic, foolish, entrance, enormous. Những từ có tận cùng là graphy, eight, tree, see, et, fear, or trọng âm rơi vào âm tiết thứ 3 từ dưới lên. For example, we have economical, democracy, technology, geography, photography, investigate, immediate. Well, and now I want you to practice the sentence.
Practice reading these sentences.
Sociolinguistics is his favorite subject at the university. English language proficiency requirements for undergraduate courses such as engineering and mathematics are considerably demanding. Some geographical names in Australia are very difficult to remember. The entrance examination to universities in Vietnam always takes place in July. Mathematics, geography, and economics are his favorite subjects at Hanoi National University.
Well, and I will ask you to practice reading them in our online lesson. Well, so now, let's watch a video.
Hello everyone and welcome back to English with Lucy. Today, very exciting, I have a grammar lesson for you. We are going to discuss the 4 conditionals. This is a very, very important lesson. I know that this is a topic that lots of my students struggle with. There's so much to remember, but hopefully I can clarify lots. Right, let's get started with the grammar lesson. So we're going to talk about the 4 conditionals. We have the 0 conditional, the first conditional, the second conditional, and can you guess what the last conditional is? Congratulations, it's the third conditional. Each conditional sentence has an if clause and a main clause. With all conditional sentences, the order of these clauses is not fixed, so you can swap them around. If I practice, I will get better, I will get better if I practice. It doesn't matter which way. But when you change the order of the clauses, the meaning is the same. Now we've got that introduction out of the way, let's start with the zero conditional. A zero conditional sentence consists of two present simple verbs. One is in the if clause and one is in the main clause. Both parts of the sentence are in the present tense. Nice and easy. If this thing happens, that thing happens. Or that thing happens if this thing happens. We use the zero conditional to talk about general truths, when in general there is a guaranteed result, like scientific facts. If you heat water, it evaporates. That's a scientific fact. We're not talking about specific conditions on that day or anything. In general, if you heat water, it evaporates. Interestingly, you can usually replace if with when or whenever, without the meaning changing. When I am happy, I smile. I smile when I'm happy. Remember that when we use the word you in zero conditionals, we are often talking about people in general, not you in particular. If you melt ice, it becomes a liquid. Let's take a look at some examples. If I'm sad, I eat chocolate. People die if they don't drink enough water. If dogs get angry, they growl. If you don't eat enough, you lose weight. If British people get bored, they talk about the weather. That's a scientific fact. We often use the zero conditional to give instructions with the imperative in the main clause. If she rings the doorbell, tell her to go away. Text me if you get lost. Right, let's move on to the first conditional. The first conditional has the present simple after if, and then the future in the main clause. If this thing happens, that thing will happen. We use the first conditional to talk about things that might happen in the future. We can't know for sure what will happen in the future, but we can use the first conditional to talk about things that will probably be true. With the zero conditional, we spoke in general, but with the first conditional, we speak about the real world and about specific situations. Some examples. If we don't leave now, we will miss the train. If you study hard, you will pass the exam. If I see my boss, I'll ask her. Contraction of I will, I'll. I'll ask her. If it gets colder, we'll light a fire. I'll finish my painting if I have time. Now, it's important to consider modals when it comes to the first conditional. You can use modals in the main clause in place of will to express a recommendation, a degree of certainty, permission. Take a look. If we don't leave now, we might miss the train. If you study hard, you could pass the exam. If I see my boss, I shall ask her. If it gets colder, we should light a fire. I'll be able to finish my painting if I have time. Right, let's move on to the second conditional. The second conditional uses the past simple after if, then would and the infinitive, that's the most common, or would and the present continuous, and I'll explain this later, as sometimes this gets left out of lessons, but I think it's important that you see it in case you come across it and think, what's that? If this thing happened, that thing would happen. Or if this thing happened, that thing would be happening. We can use the second conditional to talk about things in the future that are probably not going to be true. We often use it to talk about dreams and fantasies. For example, if I won the lottery, I would buy a house in Barbados. Or if he had more money, he would buy a boat. We can also use the second conditional to talk about things in the present that are impossible. In this case, it's very common to use I were instead of I was. If I were you, I would stop poking the cat. I can't be you, it's impossible. But if I were you, I would stop that. It's a good way of giving advice or a warning. If he were younger, I would ask him out. It's impossible. He can't be younger, so I'm not going to ask him out. If I was taller, I would wear high heels. You can choose between I was and I were. I were sounds a little more formal. I've got a little extra bit of homework for you. I want you to answer it in the comment section down below. I want you to answer this question. If you were an animal, which one would you be and why? If I were an animal, I would be a fruit bat because I'm completely addicted to fruit. Let me know. I'm so excited to see what you come up with. You always surprise me. Now let's talk about that continuous. Now for the slightly complicated bit. In second conditional sentences, the continuous form of the present conditional can be used. If this thing happened, that thing would be happening. If I spoke French, I would be living in Paris. I don't speak French, so I couldn't be living in Paris right now. If I had an exam tomorrow, I would be revising right now. It's not so common, but it's important that you know about it. Let's move on to the last one, the third conditional. I can't believe we're here already. We use the third conditional to talk about the past. It's used to talk about a situation that did not happen and to imagine the results of this imaginary situation. We use if and past perfect, and then would, have, and past participle in the main clause. If this thing had happened, that thing would have happened. If I had studied harder, I would have passed the exam, but I didn't study hard enough, so I didn't pass the exam. If we had left earlier, we wouldn't have arrived late. You wouldn't be so tired if you had gone to bed earlier. I hope that's enough. Right, that is it for my lesson on conditionals.
Okay, so what is the video about? Well, the video is about the conditional sentences, the structures, and the usages. Is it right? And now, today, we'll study conditional sentences. So first up, we will move on with type 0. So this is the structures of type 0. Yeah. Okay. Như vậy cả hai mệnh đề của câu điều kiện loại 0 đó là chúng ta đều đi với thì hiện tại đơn. Và cách sử dụng của nó như thế nào thì chúng ta sẽ cùng nhau trả lời trong tiết học online sắp tới nhé. Okay, so try to tell me the usages of conditional sentences. Okay, the usages of conditional sentence type 0. Well, for example, I have if you pour water, it evaporates. So now the next one. You see conditional sentence type 1. Yes, this is the structures of conditional sentence type 1 with if clause and main clause. Yeah, đó là câu điều kiện là 1. Mệnh đề if thì hiện tại đơn, mệnh đề chính will đi với động từ nguyên mẫu. Well, and now if you work hard, you will pass the exam. Okay, so if he stays at home, I will visit him. So tell me the usages of conditional sentence type 1 in our online lesson. And now this is the structures of conditional sentence type 2. If, okay, mệnh đề if chúng ta chia ở thì quá khứ đơn, ở quá khứ giả định với động từ to be chúng ta chuyển thành were và mệnh đề chính chúng ta sử dụng would đi đến động từ nguyên mẫu. Okay. So for example, if I were you, I would study hard. If he stays at home now, he would solve this problem. And tell me the usages in our online lesson. Yeah. Bây giờ các em hãy chuẩn bị cho cô cách sử dụng của câu điều kiện loại 2 nhé. Cô sẽ hỏi các em trong tiết học online. And the last one is the task conditional. So this is the structure. Dạ, như vậy là mệnh đề if thì chúng ta sẽ chia ở thì quá khứ hoàn thành và mệnh đề chính chúng ta sử dụng would have đi với participle. Và nhớ là câu điều kiện thì phải có if. Okay. For example, if she had stayed at home yesterday, I would have met her. if you had studied hard last year, you would have passed the examination. So now class, you have already read the example and tell me when we will use the third conditional sentence. Okay, so we will do some exercise here. So exercise 1, complete the sentence using the conditional sentence 1. Yeah, okay, so I will show the exercise for you. Okay, so try to read them and answer me in our online lesson. And exercise 2, express the situation using conditional sentence 2. Okay, so we have some sentences for you. So in exercise 3, complete the sentence with the correct form of the verbs in brackets. Wow. Okay, if you watch the video, you will know how to do this exercise. Okay, and complete the sentence. Yeah. Okay, and I will ask you to write 3 sentences using conditional sentence type 1, 3 sentences using type 2, and 3 sentences using type 3. Well, and thank you for your watching and listening as well. Goodbye, everyone.